What's going on, guys, and welcome to my Friday Night SmackDown audio review for October 22nd, 2021. I'm Graham Jason Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great weekend so far. A very interesting episode of SmackDown this was, opening on a super high note, great opening segment that went all of like 30 minutes, which we'll get to in a moment. Definitely a long segment that stretched over like 3 different segments, between commercial breaks and whatnot. And then it was all kind of downhill from there. I don't want to say it was a bad show, but we had the high of highs and the low of lows at the end of this episode of SmackDown. And SmackDown is typically the better of the two brands. Not always a home run, but I thought this was a very interesting mixed bag of a show. From a great opening segment to a very stupid, bizarre ending segment, which we'll get to momentarily. But before that, a few things I do want to mention. If you're new here to the channel, if you're a recurring subscriber, whatever it might be, check out all the other videos we have going up daily here on the channel, now more than ever. We have videos going up daily regardless, but, now more than ever, a very busy period for interviews from WWE. I got someone from AEW coming here to the channel next week, I believe. I don't know if that's going to be on next week, but we got Jeff Jarrett, that interview going up, I thought Monday, probably going to be closer to Wednesday now. He's going to be going up Wednesday in the last week alone. I've already run down this before, but Elliot Taylor, the man that sang the AEW entrance music for Bryan Danielson, Born for Greatness, awesome song. We had him here on the channel last week. Check that out. We also had the Universal Champion Roman Reigns, who I'll get to in a moment here in my SmackDown review. He was here on the channel and on Bleacher Report in article form, talking all about the Superstar SmackDown from last week. Check that out. We had Sasha Banks breaking down Crown Jewel ahead of the pay-per-view this past week. She was here on the channel on Tuesday. NXT North American Champion Carmelo Hayes, awesome convo with him. That went up on Tuesday here on the channel and in article form over on dailyddt.com. Who else? In the last couple of days alone, I'm putting up all my reviews, or rather interviews, heading into the Wrestling Classic on Sunday. The promoter, Nick Massey, great guy, talking all about conventions, coming back to the CT area. That went up on Thursday, yesterday. A lot of cool, awesome, positive feedback from my interview with Dangerous Danny Davis, a legendary referee. He's going to be at the Wrestling Classic on Sunday. You can meet him there, or you can just hear our exclusive interview here on the channel. I'm talking all about the convention, meeting fans, his role at WrestleMania 30, and a lot more. Great conversation with Dangerous Danny Davis. I think today I'm going to be putting up, if not already, it should be up by now, my exclusive interview also promoting the Wrestling Classic. Adam Bomb, WWE legend Adam Bomb, Brian Clark, awesome guy, great convo with him, very positive stuff going up today as well. And tomorrow, ahead of the Wrestling Classic, which will be tomorrow as I speak right now, another WWE legend, Terry Runnels, the former Marlena. Cool, quick, short conversation with her going up tomorrow here on the channel. Jeff Jarrett going up at some point next week, probably Wednesday, but that's not confirmed. Monday, or rather on Tuesday before Halloween Havoc, NXT Superstar, one half of the former NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, Indy Hartwell. Really looking forward to that one. I've been, following her on Twitter. We've been friendly as fans for close to a decade now. And now she's in WWE killing it. So I look forward to catching up with her here on Tuesday on the channel. So if you're an Indy Hartwell or Indy Loomis fan, rather, check that out on Tuesday and an article form over on dailyddt.com. And on Monday, recorded this on Friday. Breaking news here. I don't know if this is going to be on Twitter by the time I put this video up. If you're not already subscribed, you're going to want to check this out here on the channel on Monday. My exclusive interview with WWE legend, Raw superstar Rey Mysterio. Our very first interview, making his WrestleRant radio debut this coming Monday on the channel. Like I said, guys, if you're not already subscribed, I would very much appreciate it, and you're not going to want to miss that video when it goes live first thing Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. So hit that bell button to be notified when that video goes up, and all the other daily content, including my SmackDown audio reviews every single weekend. We got the Talking Smack reviews on Sundays, Raw Talk reviews on Wednesdays, Q&A videos, hashtag AskGSM on Wednesdays, Thursday, WrestleRant radio excerpts, Mondays, for now, my Dark Side of the Ring reviews. My review of the XPW episode, just watched it last night. That's going up on Monday here on the channel. Next week is the Steroid Trials episode. That review will go up the subsequent Monday. And a lot more, guys. So if you're not already subscribed, I would appreciate it, and you're not going to want to miss out. So let's get to what you guys came here to hear about. The October 22nd, 2021 edition of Friday Night SmackDown. Opening up with an outstanding segment, I thought, with some people complaining, oh, it was 30 minutes, it was too long. Listen, if those 30 minutes are compelling, I have no complaints. Roman Reigns out in the ring alongside Paul Heyman, boasting about his victory over Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel. And he said the list of people that he has beaten has gotten so long, which it has, over the last year plus, that he's only going to recap it dating back to WrestleMania. Because in past promos with Heyman, they would go all the way back to the beginning, referencing people that don't even work there anymore. That is how long Roman's run has been as the Universal Champion. That 3 of the people he has beaten as champion, that being Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, who were in the match when he won that championship almost, not exactly a year ago. At this point, it would be 14 months ago. It was back in August of 2020. Both of those guys don't even work here anymore. And then Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, one of the guys he beat in Bryan's last match with the company and at WrestleMania, also no longer with WWE. So he goes all the way back to WrestleMania, mentioning how he smashed and he beat Daniel Bryan and Edge in the exact same match. He beat Cesaro. He beat Rey Mysterio. He beat John Cena. He beat Finn Balor. He beat the Demon. And now he has beaten Brock Lesnar as well. But the issue is not over yet between the two current and former Paul Heyman guys, as Brock Lesnar did exactly as promised. Coming out of the show, and the funny thing is that I guess he made this comment to WWE.com. They clearly made it up. I don't know why they couldn't have just filmed him leaving the arena and getting this comment from him. They just put it up in a statement on WWE.com. He didn't tweet it. He didn't say it to any camera. They just put it in an article on the website. So clearly that's how you know. I mean, even the tweet, you would know they made that up. I'm sure Brock doesn't even know he has a Twitter account active on Twitter.com, saying that when I arrive at SmackDown, basically I'm going to kick Roman Reigns' ass because he cheated me out of that championship at Crown Jewel. And that's exactly what happened. And Roman said he would not leave that ring until Brock came down to the ring. So the first 10 minutes of the show were Roman talking, boasting about his reign, kind of just owning the audience, all this other stuff. I thought he would grab a chair, go on strike or whatever, because we've seen that before on these shows. That didn't happen. We went to commercial. He came back. He was still talking shit to the audience, probably to keep them entertained during the commercial break. And then when we came back, I was expecting someone new to come out and challenge Roman Reigns. I know we have Survivor Series coming up, so maybe you couldn't have done that quite yet. Like to set up his next opponent before Brock, because we know we're going back to that at some point, which I'll get to in a moment. But I thought we might get like a Drew. I honestly was expecting Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre coming out, setting the stage, planting the seeds for not Survivor Series, which is where they faced off last year, but rather maybe WrestleMania or the Royal Rumble or another pay-per-view like that. But nonetheless, Roman Reigns, he does his thing, talks to the audience, whatever. And instead of any of the new people, it was indeed Brock Lesnar. Lesnar comes out to a great reaction, still looking like Butcher Brock, which is great, and goes right after Roman Reigns. Now, I feared this would play out the exact same way 2 of the other segments involving these two on the show played out, in that Brock would interrupt Roman, he would come close to attacking him, and then the Usos would come out, go after Brock. Their attempt would be thwarted. Brock would beat the shit out of them instead, give them a bunch of German suplexes and F5s, and that would be it. That is not how this segment went. Brock got very physical with Roman, and I'm glad they waited until the pay-per-view for those two to get physical. But they did have them brawl. They did have Brock basically beat the shit out of Roman Reigns in the ring, all around ringside, tossing him. I don't know if he did the F5 on top of the commentary table or he attempted to. I think he was going to. Before that, though, he was chucking Roman into the ring post, into the barricade. He was beating the fuck out of this guy. The Usos come out, attempt to stop him before he can F5 Roman through the commentary table. And they get it, but then Brock beats the shit out of them too. He chucks, I think, Jey Uso face first right into the ring post. And then Jimmy over to the barricade, Jey over the barricade. They're not enough. Brock is unhinged. He's always unhinged, but he's especially pissed coming out of Crown Jewel. So they do the whole locker room piles out, and it's not anyone important, obviously. It's all the jabronis in the back. That being the Garzas and the Carrillos and the Mansours and the Alis and the Rick Boogs even. I was surprised he was even out there. But all those type of guys, like the undercard guys that can take a beating and it wouldn't really, bother or hurt their credibility because they're not overly important on the card in the grand scheme of things. Although they should have been, but whatever. So Brock beats those guys up. He attacks some security guards. He kind of throws a referee around. He pushes a cameraman. He pushes one of the agents. I think Daivari, if I'm not mistaken. I think he pushes Sean Daivari and chucks him over the commentary table. And then eventually the entire roster comes out and prevents Brock from going after Roman Reigns further. Probably not to protect Roman Reigns, but more so to protect Brock from everyone else. So we go to commercial after all that all chaos unfolds. Adam Pearce comes down to the ring and says, Brock, because of your actions, you have been suspended indefinitely. I have no choice. You've put in not just the superstars on the roster, but personnel and most importantly, the WWE Universe in danger with the way you were acting a couple of minutes ago here at ringside. So I have no choice but to indefinitely suspend you. Brock did not want to hear that. Brock was not too happy with that. So instead of Adam Pearce making that announcement and having that be it, which is what I expected to happen, because I figured when Brock was doing this, I'm thinking, okay, this is their way of writing Brock out of storylines for a while. They've done this before. I think it was after, was it WrestleMania 31, when he was going to get his rematch with Rollins, and then after WrestleMania on Raw, and then he just beat the shit out of everyone, and they basically said, hey, Brock, get out of here, you're suspended. He didn't come back for another couple of months. I feel like that that's what's happening here. Like, they're not going to do the match at Survivor Series. That's the whole Raw versus SmackDown brand warfare shit. You know, him and Big E are probably going to have their match in the main event of that show, as they should. That should be great. So I'm not surprised they're not doing it there. Brock has been at Survivor Series the last couple of years. He wasn't there last year, but he did face Rey Mysterio in 2019. 2018, he faced Daniel Bryan. 2017, he faced AJ Styles. 2016, he faced Goldberg. So every year he's been active with the company. Last year he wasn't under any sort of contract. Now he is. He's been at Survivor Series, but I'm fine with him not being there this year if he's not the champion, because there's no real reason for him to be. So him being suspended until probably Royal Rumble season makes sense. But like I said, Brock was not happy with what Adam Pearce had to say. So he comes out, chokes out Adam Pearce, and says, did you just say something I didn't want to hear you say? And then Adam Pearce acting all scared, and he stands his ground. I mean, he was terrified as anyone else would be if they were in that spot. But he stood his ground, didn't take off the suspension. He wasn't like, oh, you're unsuspended because I'm afraid of you. He was like, dude, I'm sorry. I have to do what I got to do. Like, you're off the rails right now. We got to tame you a little bit by suspending you, and we'll talk about it in a couple of months, whatever. Brock, not happy with that decision. F5's Adam Pearce a number of times. So Adam Pearce is off the show for the rest of the night. Sonya Deville taking over the managerial duties as the GM, official, whatever. I don't know if that's going to be permanent, if Adam Pearce will be back by Monday's Raw, by SmackDown next week. I don't know. This could be their way of writing him out temporarily as well, so Sonya can do whatever she wants with Naomi and bully her and not have to hear Adam Pearce argue with that decision and kind of go off on it and kind of serve as the check and balance of Sonya's actions and whatever her choices. So I don't know how long he's going to be gone. But overall, though, I thought this segment was awesome. This was one of the best opening segments I've seen on SmackDown in a very long time. And there's been some good ones, but this probably takes the cake. This was fantastic. So Brock is white hot as a babyface. Win, lose, or draw, crown jewel, still very much over. Obviously, he's Brock fucking Lesnar. Roman Reigns showed some rare vulnerability here. He played his role amazingly well. The pre-attack promo was excellent. We didn't hear from Heyman at all, interestingly. His facial expressions told a single story without him saying a single thing, which was very impressive. He played his role amazingly well without even doing much at all, which was great. So like I said, I assume, and I know probably for a fact, they did this because he's not going to be around until WrestleMania season. There's no reason for Brock to be at Survivor Series. We got WWE Day 1 coming up on January 1st. Could they do the match there? I guess, but that's more of a Rumble WrestleMania match to me. I honestly think this might be more of a WrestleMania match than Roman versus Drew. And I love Roman versus Drew on paper. I think that should be a great match. I love the match last year. But Brock getting the belt from Roman Reigns might be the endgame for this storyline, which I don't like. I really want it to be someone new or someone that can benefit from beating Roman Reigns. He's been champion for so long. Putting the belt back on Brock. I mean, put it this way. If Brock gets the belt back from Roman Reigns, who beats Brock for the championship? Does Roman get the belt back from Brock? Is it Drew again? Like, we already saw Drew beat Brock at WrestleMania last year. And no one on SmackDown is remotely a threat. Fucking Jeff Hardy, they teased that a couple of weeks ago at the draft. No way. That's not going to happen. So I wouldn't put the belt back on Brock at all, personally. But this could be where they're headed going into WrestleMania. That could be the WrestleMania match. Brock and Roman, I say 2, the rematch from Crown Jewel, but it wouldn't be 2. It would be part 7 after all the other battles they've had in 2015 and 2018 and 2016 and whatever. So that could be the direction they're going in here with Roman and Brock Lesnar. I have no issue with another match, though, because this program right now is white hot. They've been booking it brilliantly over the last couple of months. Brock and Roman both playing their roles respectively very, very well. Easily the best feud they've had so far. These two have feuded at least 2 different times prior to this point. And this feud is easily the best of the bunch because they're finally in the roles they should have been in the entire time. Brock is a great heel, don't get me wrong. But Roman should have been a heel from the get-go. They should have done the double turn 6 years ago, back at WrestleMania 31, but they didn't do it. Better late than never. We're getting it now. It's a great feud. So we'll probably get it at the Rumble. What I don't really want to see is Brock entering the Rumble, winning the Rumble, and that's how he gets his match with Roman at WrestleMania. If it's not Brock, I really don't know who wins the Rumble. It could be someone from Raw. It could be someone from SmackDown that goes over to Raw. That's also possible. I don't want to see that happen. I would much rather see someone new win it or someone that makes more sense. I feel like Brock doesn't need to win the Rumble to get a rematch with Roman. That's the thing. He's already won it before 20 years ago. I have no desire to see Brock Lesnar win the Rumble. It might make for a great reaction, and it might be his way of saying, hey, you suspended me, but I entered myself in the Rumble. I won the whole thing. I am owed a title shot, so I do need that match with Roman at WrestleMania. I guess that would make sense, but I don't know. I would just much rather see it be anyone else but Brock or Drew again or someone along those lines. I would rather see it be someone like a Damian Priest or someone along those lines. But either way, all signs point to Brock and Roman very likely happening at WrestleMania. They could do it at the Rumble, maybe at day 1. I would rank it day 1 is least likely, then the Rumble, but most likely probably WrestleMania. That's where I think they're going with this. That's probably where I would go with it. Unless you can find a bigger or better or more, bigger or better or more important match than Brock versus Roman 2. Drew and Roman I still feel like is inferior to Brock and Roman 2 with how hot this feud has been. So until someone really rises up aside from a Drew and makes a statement and kind of makes it feel like it should be them and Roman at WrestleMania, then I think it's going to be Brock and Roman. The Rock is off the table. I don't think he's going to be able to make it, so that's not really much of an option. No one else on the SmackDown side of things really makes sense. I've said Damian Priest. That hasn't really exactly... That ship hasn't sailed quite yet. They could go to that if Damian wins the Rumble. But even if he does, he would probably just stay on Raw and do something over there. So, we'll see. But anyway, our first official match on the show after 30 minutes of just talking and brawling saw Drew McIntyre issue an open challenge to anyone in the back. And I'm glad it was someone that was already on SmackDown and not someone that came over from Raw and they were fighting again like a fucking Sheamus or someone like that, or a Jeff Hardy. Like, we've seen those matches before. So I'm glad it was someone that was already on SmackDown, a great foil for Drew. They had a good little match in the 6 or 7 minutes they got here. Drew beating Sami Zayn. Good stuff here. I enjoyed the match. It was a good win for Drew to re-debut him on SmackDown for the first time in over a decade. Then we had the coronation for King Xavier, as they're calling him. On WWE.com, they refer to him as King Woods, which is what he wanted to be called anyway. I mean, how many times have we heard Xavier say to the camera in recent weeks on Raw and SmackDown, Hail King Woods, Hail King Woods, Crown King Woods. He has said King Woods so many times that King Xavier just doesn't sound right. They call him King Xavier here, so that's what I'm going to call him. This whole thing was hosted by Kofi Kingston, who kind of played it up and did the whole typical king coronation for every King of the Ring that we've gotten over the last, 15, 20 years or whatever. But it was fun. I think the best part about this was that no one interrupted it. And I was thinking in my head, all right, is it going to be Corbin? Is it going to be someone along those lines? I figured Corbin just because he was the previous King of the Ring and he wants his crown back, which would have been fucking awful. And we'll get to Corbin a little bit later on. But no one came out. No one interrupted. It was just Xavier enjoying his moment, getting his moment. And for anyone thinking, oh, it ended uneventfully, blah, blah, blah. Just give the guy his fucking moment. Xavier will very likely never be a world champion. Maybe a mid-card champion, I think that'd be cool. I doubt he would ever be the WWE or Universal Champion. That's just what it is. So just give the guy his moment as King of the Ring. It's something that means a lot to him. That's never really meant anything historically for this company and anyone who's held it, at least recently. Not all time, but I'm talking like in the last 10, 15 years. No one has really benefited from becoming King of the Ring. But with Xavier, though, he grew up clearly wanting to win King of the Ring and wear that crown and do all the typical King shit. So just give him his moment. I don't know where they'll go with this and how he'll really be elevated by it. Probably not. But the fact they gave it to him at all, I'm content with that. So this was fine. I enjoyed this for what it was. We got the Crown Jewel rematch between Mansour and Mustafa Ali. So as soon as I saw the graphic, I'm thinking, dude, fuck the 50-50 booking. I mean, did we really need a rematch? They had a great match at Crown Jewel. They had time. Mansour got to win in his hometown, home country. They had the post-match segment. It was really, really well done. So I'm thinking what they're going to do here will not top what they did on Thursday. So why even do it again at all? Typical WWE, they booked the rematch. It was a good match, but it was way too short to be even anywhere near on the level of the Crown Jewel match they had on Thursday. It was fine for what it was, way too brief. The key here is that Mansour won again. He won for the second straight time against Ali, and that's exactly what should have happened. They had no reason to have Ali get his win back so soon. They'll probably continue the feud and do another match because that's what WWE likes to do. Not that AEW doesn't do that or other companies, but you do it when it makes sense. Mansour has won clean twice now. There's no reason for a third match. A lot like Cody and Malachi Black tonight. Why do a third match? Cody will probably get his win back there. But at least the heel won twice there, and the babyface wants to get his win back. The babyface has now won twice. We need to move the fuck on. So hopefully I say that thinking they'll probably do a third match. We don't know that. So I might be complaining for no reason. But I'm very much expecting a third match either next week on SmackDown or the week after or whatever. We got the highly anticipated debut of Hit Row here on SmackDown. Practically the perfect debut, in my opinion. They didn't come out and interrupt Roman Reigns and beat Roman Reigns or whatever. It wasn't a high-profile debut. But compared to a lot of the debuts we get here on a lot of these shows, I mean, you look at Karrion Kross as the NXT champion, who we haven't seen on Raw since, by the way, in the past month or so, probably due to the draft stuff. But Karrion Kross debuts as NXT champion after being undefeated for a year and a half, loses in 2 minutes to Jeff Hardy via a fluky-ass finish, which was fucking stupid. Hit Row come out, get a chance to cut a promo, all 4 members keeping their names, getting to talk. Isaiah Swerve Scott, Top Dollar, B-Fab, Ashanti the Adonis. I thought for a fact, and maybe they still will, they would shorten the Ashanti the Adonis name, but they didn't. I thought they shortened Isaiah's name to just Swerve, but they didn't. I think they called him Isaiah Swerve Scott here, which is great. I mean, just Swerve would be fine, but I think Isaiah Swerve Scott, you built it up in NXT. Why not just keep it? But whatever. So he did. Thankfully, it looks like for now he is keeping the name. It might be more a matter of when than not if they'll chop off a part of that name, but for now it's fine. So anyway, they cut their promo, introduced themselves, established themselves as a kind of a hot act in the SmackDown brand on the rise right now, and have a match. It was Scott and Top Dollar beating the duo of Justin Lawyer and Daniel Williams. So 2 unknown enhancement losers, local athletes, so to speak, and they won within a matter of a minute or two. Perfect showcase for Scott and Top Dollar. Perfect showcase overall for the entire faction. I thought this was exactly what it needed to be. Good stuff here. We then had the renewal of an old rivalry. And when I say old, I mean as of 3 months ago. Happy Corbin versus, not King Nakamura, but the Intercontinental Champion, Shinsuke Nakamura. This was fucking dumb. I mean, the match itself was fine. But the fact that we're getting more matches between these two when they just wrapped up their rivalry, 3 or 4 months ago, is fucking stupid. It's stupid. They had literally 5 or 6 matches earlier this year. None of them were remotely memorable. It ended with Nakamura taking Corbin's crown, and Nakamura had to give up the crown anyway to the King of the Ring winner. Corbin went on to become Happy Corbin and whatever, but he's still kind of doing a similar gimmick. I enjoy the Happy Corbin stuff. Nakamura's been on a roll for a while now. There was no reason to renew this rivalry and do it over again, this time over the Intercontinental Championship. I really do not want to see, to be honest with you, Happy Corbin as the Intercontinental Champion. He's done great work. I don't know if I would hate to see it, but I would much rather see Sheamus or someone like that be the one to beat Nakamura for that title. I think Sheamus versus Nakamura for that Intercontinental Championship would be great. If Corbin is being positioned as a filler opponent for Nakamura, because Corbin's been winning a lot lately and they want to, kind of capitalize off that, that's fine. What I don't like about this is that we're getting more matches between these two. They call this the dumb championship contenders match. Oh my God, just call it, just have a number 1 contenders match. What happened in number 1 contenders matches? Why do you have to beat the champion in order to earn a title shot? It makes no fucking sense. So we're very likely getting a rematch between these two probably next Friday on SmackDown or another time. So just keep an eye out for that, I guess. But yeah, the match was fine. I just really do not want to see these two in the ring together again, ever again. The matches weren't terrible, but it's like we've seen it enough where I'm so fucking sick of Corbin versus Nakamura. Please just have them move on. In the main event segment, we got Charlotte and Becky Lynch exchanging the Raw and SmackDown women's titles. Now, they advertised this coming into the show. They advertised this as a title exchange, and this is where we all figured it was going. When Charlotte remained the Raw Women's Champion going to SmackDown, and Becky Lynch got drafted to Raw as the SmackDown Women's Champion, and she retained that title at Crown Jewel, we all knew they were going to do the dumb title swap. But when you advertise it in advance, which the funny thing about that is that they advertise a lot of dumb shit for these shows, but the shit they should be advertising, they don't advertise. It doesn't make any sense. They advertise this probably to make people tune in to see Becky Lynch, even though that we were told the new roster's go into effect already. I understand why she was on the show, but it was still stupid. So they come out, and they did the title swap. Although the way they did it, first of all, it was dumb anyway. But the way they did it was just awful. Sonya Deville served as like the mediator. Neither woman wanted to give up their championship. Becky, earlier in the show, kind of hinted at wanting both belts. The crowd was chanting Becky 2 belts. Not something I want to see, but why would you tease it if you didn't intend on delivering? And maybe they will at Survivor Series. Maybe that's where this is headed. But they made no indication of that here. So what happened was, neither of them wanted to give up their championships. Kind of talk shit back and forth. Becky said, I don't want to just give up my title. I want to take your championship. I want to take that belt back. And I think I'd look a lot better. Instead of giving up our championships, why don't we just fight for a winner-take-all match? And Charlotte even outright challenged her to a winner-take-all match right there on the show. Becky, instead, it looked like she was about to respond, but before she could, she was interrupted by Sasha Banks, who got fucking pinned at Crown Jewel. I like Sasha. We talked to Sasha here on the show 3 days ago. In storyline, why the fuck is Sasha Banks being positioned as the number one contender to either one of these titles? I know she was screwed out of the match. Becky held the tights or whatever. She held the rope. Who cares? There's no disqualifications in a triple threat match anyway. Who cares? You were pinned. Sasha and Charlotte hasn't been done in a while, so them kind of renewing that rivalry and going back to it here is fine. The problem is the timing is terrible. The timing is awful. We're going into Survivor Series. Maybe they'll do Charlotte and Sasha on TV to determine who's going to face Becky at Survivor Series. But it's all about the fucking 4 horsewomen. Where were the other women on SmackDown that didn't get a chance to re-debut here? We got some slight progression of the Sonya-Naomi feud earlier in the show backstage. But, who's even on SmackDown? Shotzi Blackheart is now on her own. Where was she on the show? They didn't reintroduce everyone. Like Jeff Hardy wasn't out there. There were a lot of people. Ridge Holland we heard from very briefly. Aaliyah we heard from very briefly. But give me Shotzi. Give me, not Natalya. Who cares about Natalya? Honestly, who's even on SmackDown? Let's go look at the roster right now. Because I feel like, I know Sasha's the biggest name they have aside from Charlotte on the show, and that's a big match. But there's no reason to do that match right now. Go to a different match. Go to someone else in that role. Challenging for that championship. All right. So looking at the SmackDown women's roster. Maybe it's not as deep as I thought, but Aaliyah is just awful, so she shouldn't have been out there. B-Fab is also not great in the ring, so maybe not. Bayley's out hurt. Naomi would have been nice, but she's feuding with Sonya right now. Natalya, who gives a fuck? Shayna Baszler, Shotzi, or Toni fucking Storm. Xia Li, we heard, was coming soon. Any one of those. Where the fuck was Shayna Baszler? She's been undefeated for a while. She lost to Doudrop on Raw via that fluky finish. She was nowhere to be seen on this show. Why didn't we get Shayna coming in to confront Charlotte Flair? Not that no one cares about Sasha and Charlotte. I think it's a match that a lot of people are excited for. But to do it now, and just the timing is great. I mean, it isn't great. It just sends the message that they don't care about these women beyond the 4 horsewomen. And it's true. I mean, obviously, Bianca's getting a great push. Naomi's on TV more. That's great. But give me more Shayna. Give me more Shotzi. Give me more Toni Storm, for God's sakes. The woman that lost in 2 minutes to Zelina Vega a couple of weeks ago, which was a disgrace. It makes no sense. So, yeah. I thought that was really stupid. The entire segment sucked. The segment sucked. And it was a shame because I thought the show got off to a great start with the Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar brawl and the suspension of Brock and him attacking Adam Pearce. It was a great 30 minutes. A riveting 30 minutes, couldn't turn away, great stuff. And then you have Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. Good stuff there. The King Coronation for King Woods was very well done. Mansour and Ali, a little short, but okay. The Hit Row debut, I thought was very well done. Corbin and Nakamura, who gives a fuck? And then that ending segment really ruined the show for me. It wasn't a bad show. It wasn't a great show. It was kind of a middle-of-the-road show if you kind of, average it out between all the segments. But it's amazing. It was a tale of two shows between that opening segment and then what we got there at the end. And I was watching the show on delay. So I fast forward when the show is over, when the segment ends. I fast forward through the commercial and then the recording ends. And I'm like, was that really the end of the show? That was the end of the show. I'm like, holy shit. What the fuck? Like, that was terrible. So it's unfortunate. And I like all these women, but they've really got to move on at some point from doing Becky and Charlotte and Sasha and Becky versus Sasha and all these other, potential matches. They're big matches, but use the other women that you have in these divisions. That's what I don't understand. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the October 22nd, 2021 edition of Friday Night SmackDown. Thank you guys for checking out my audio review. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed the review, be sure to give it a thumbs up, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content, including hitting that bell button to be notified every time a new video goes up. Like I said before, guys, we got, in the last couple of days alone, Roman Reigns, Sasha Banks, Carmelo Hayes, Adam Bomb, Dangerous Danny Davis, Terry Reynolds coming up tomorrow, Jeff Jarrett next week, Indy Hartwell, Rey Mysterio, all right here on the channel for you guys. Elliot Taylor, Skylar Gray, also coming here to the channel very soon. So we got a lot of great interviews already up here on the channel, a lot of great interviews still to come in the weeks to come, in the days to come. So subscribe and never miss a video. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.